Folks, when that music drops, you know where you are. I want to say welcome back to all the old friends. And I want to say hello and welcome to all the new friends. If you haven't done that yet, as our prefrontal cortex of your brain prompting you tells you to subscribe at the beginning of the podcast, and it'll do it again at the end, please subscribe to us. We're immensely grateful for all of you following us. Today we have an episode, and as you know, we're now in season 3, where every single week I will be bringing you a new guest. And our guest today is in Auckland, New Zealand, and he's been there 22 years. Now, this guy was born, and on the first day of being born, if you've ever traveled India and you know anything about the states in India, he's Gujarati originally, and Gujarat is called the innovation state of India. This guy was telling me he is freaking out about ever, possibly, maybe having to bungee jump. He's got a beautiful family. He's got 3 kids. He's very, very busy. They're 8, 6, and 1, and a wife. And his other story is that he wrote a book that killed it. When he put it up on the market, the book is called, and go check it out. We're going to make it available in the links off the show as well, The 30-Day Startup. And he wrote a second book that's called Business in Time of Corona. And one of the things he also shared with me is that one of the reflective moments he has is that sometimes he wished he would have had more the courage to jump off the ledge. And we're going to talk about that today, particular in the context of entrepreneurship. And there's one more thing. Before I let him in the door, I got to mention, he's also got a podcast, which is called the Web3 Podcast. And folks, if you're watching right now, there he is, Sam Kamani. Sam, I'm so honored for you being here, giving us your time. Welcome to Rants.
Thank you so much. Such an honor and such a pleasure to be talking with you. I always have so much fun, so much laughs whenever I talk with you. So thank you for this opportunity. Yes.
No, it's great for you to be here. Thank you. I mean, you tell me, should we talk about bungee jumping first, or should we talk about 30-Day Startup?
Oh, we can talk about anything you want. Either way is fine.
Yeah. So tell us your story a little bit. Sam. You're an entrepreneur. You're a creator. You're somebody who is always thinking about, how can I help support people, which is, I think, one of the things that really connects us. One of the things that I feel, and when people describe you, you've shared a little bit with me, is you're an extrovert, you're a workaholic, and you said one really fun fact to me. My kids, you said, they think I am their age. When we think about children and we think about being a workaholic and an innovator, kids are very curious. What's curiosity to you? And maybe we'll start off there talking about the ability to be childish. How can that actually serve us in the context of innovation, discovery, and being an innovator?
Absolutely. I love this topic. I will give you a bit of my background, because this will lead to the bit of my background. And that is that, whenever there is a new technological innovation, I check it out.
Love it.
I've built 2 startups and sold them in past, and that's why I wanted to help other people with building a startup and building it really fast, and not waiting on it for 10 years.
Right.
And that's once again comes back to being on, like, not jumping off and jumping off and taking that step. But yeah, talking about innovation and having that childlike curiosity, it's like in 2004 I was doing Google AdWords, and which led to sort of my first e-commerce business later on in life. But I was doing that, and then people were saying that, are you crazy? You should be putting your advert in yellow pages, and that's what people should be doing, or putting an ad on radio or TV or something like that. What's this internet? I mean, of course, back 2004, it's 18 years ago, which is,
I know, isn't that crazy?
Ago.
Wow.
Yes.
Crazy.
And most people, I mean, the product was live for 2 years, like their AdWords product, something like that. So most people had not heard about it. Most people did not know search engine marketing didn't exist back in those days.
Right.
So the the thing is that theme has carried out throughout my life,
Yeah,
whether it is TikTok or Web3 or blockchain or artificial intelligence or machine learning. If there is new technology, I am curious. I want to learn about
I
it. I
love
want to
this.
find out about it. And, you know, people say when YouTube was new, it was all people, oh, that's only for cat videos and stuff. And now YouTube is one of the biggest businesses out there in the world. You know, if it was an independent
I
company, it
love
would
that.
be one of the
I
biggest
love
startups,
this.
world's second largest search engine.
I love
Um,
it.
and it's giving even Netflix and stuff run for its money. Same thing with
So
TikTok.
I love this.
Yes,
So this is such a great topic. Let me jump in here, if I may, quickly.
yes, yes,
You just said something, whenever there's something new out, I go check it out. And what
yes.
have you learned, but most importantly, for people who are listening, who are considering themselves innovators, entrepreneurs, and everybody wants to be an entrepreneur these days, right? And what would you tell them based on your own learnings, saying, you know what, should everybody check everything out and make their own opinion about it? Is it go talk to people who are in the space? What would you, as a mentor, what would you tell people listening how to go about when they hear about something new? What's kind of maybe your process that's worked for you and can potentially also work for someone who's listening?
Okay, the first thing is to have an open mind and not go in there with preconceived notions, and be
Mm,
it is, you know, it is, I think it's a superpower to have the ability to change one's mind when new evidence comes out. So it is
mm,
okay, you don't have to, you know, die on that hill. You don't have to stick to it. If there is new evidence out there that, okay, this software was working, but now maybe it's not working, or maybe
right.
this new technology was not working and now maybe the timing is right and it is working. um, I would love to give an example in, like, it's like, you know, when the when the handsets were, I mean, this is, I'm just showing my my age, back in the days when
We're
we had
talking
those
about we're talking about the
brick
handsets
phones.
like the size of a
Yes.
suitcase.
Yes, yes, the brick phones and the I mean, I have seen those. I didn't use those because I was young. It's like in early 1990s and stuff, and
Yeah,
only, like, you know,
yeah, yeah.
stockbrokers or someone really important would carry them. You would not think of a thing like Instagram that people will be taking pictures of their breakfast or food, but that's what happened in 2015 and 16. So technology enabled it. There were new facts. So it's okay. It's okay to change your mind about technology. It's like a lot of the blockchain or cryptocurrency or Web3 things, they are in extremely early stages. We are in the
I
same
know.
stages
It's
of a
this is so good, right?
handset.
With more technology access comes more fucked upness. Like it's
Yes,
literally right. I get to say that on my podcast. So it's one of those things which is. I mean, I love this how the perspective just put to that. I mean, who would have thought about it in 2015? People start taking pictures of their breakfast, right? I mean, I
yeah.
still laugh today. And do you think that's generational that people do that, or is it more? What is it? I mean,
It's just mindset. It's just mindset. That's about it. That's
right?
what they it's like kids, they want to instinctively, or, like, you know, 1 year old, 2 year old, anything in front of them, they want to touch it, they want to feel it, they want to put it in
Yeah,
their mouth. They don't go in there with preconceived notions. Whereas when
right.
we, as we age, we have all these 50 years, 40 years, 30 years of life experience that is setting us in our ways and putting our mindset in a certain way, or thinking in a certain way, or worldview in a certain way, that
Yeah,
stops us from the same exploration. That, oh no, I don't touch this, I don't eat this, I don't do that. It's like, we no longer try
yeah,
for
yeah,
ourselves. We stop trying. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's so interesting. In terms of kind of the technology evolution you've seen and experienced for
Yes.
yourself, in terms of adoption for yourself, how it served you and helped you in building your businesses, but then
Yes.
also now kind of inviting other people to do the same. What are some of
Yeah.
the things that come to mind for you there?
So, uh I would love an example. What do you mean by that? Like,
Well, I mean, you just talked about the people taking pictures of their breakfast, and we didn't think
yes.
about 10 years ago if somebody was saying I'm going to take a picture of my breakfast and my dinner and whatever else I do, we look at them. What? I mean, 20 years ago, can you imagine it? It's like Gutenberg, right? When he invented in Mainz, Germany, the printing press, and they said to him, "Well, what else are you going to print with this besides the Bible?" Oh
Yeah.
wow, well, really? Because I mean, look at your bookshelf. And so these kinds
Yes.
of things, which are a small nucleus, a small catalyst, which blew up big, are there in retrospect certain things where you say, you know what, I came across that long time ago, and suddenly it just started crazy, and I wish I would have seen it differently, or I wish I would have done something differently with it. Is there regret? Is there a revisit of some of those thoughts?
Not at all, because if I find something interesting, I go and check it out,
Yeah,
and I go and play with it. So, um, like, one thing I've been doing is, like, computers. In early, like, mid 90s, when I
yeah,
got introduced to computers, of course I wanted to learn everything, and I wanted to,
sure.
um, even though it was as simple as doing paint or different games,
What was
or
your first
or
computer? What was your first computer?
oh, I think it was a 486 or something like that. 286 or a 486. I think it was one of those. This is this is really old school. This is
Listen, I get it. I get it.
a black screen and
Yeah,
writing
yeah.
code in basic.
C
And
colon forward slash Windows,
yes,
something else. Yeah, yeah.
yes.
I
So
know.
you
I
had to
used to
load
kick
Windows.
myself onto this thing when I was like in my, I think I was 21 or so, and I had the first one of those in my office at the time, and I
Yes.
kicked myself on all the time. I had to call the IT department, which was at that time the finance department was managing the IT support, which is, I mean, unthinkable today. Um,
Yes.
it was really really funny, but that was me.
Yeah. And it kind of, the theme sort of continued that, if there is a technology, I want to explore it and use it. And what you were talking about, the printing press, and the what would you use it for, and all that. So, there is a, sort of a concept in I don't know, in real world, it's called skeuomorphism. So, when the iPhone was new, and it had like a, say, for music, it would have like a, the icon would look like a cassette player, because there was a real world equivalent. There was it's called
Mhm.
skeuomorphism, copying what's in the real world. But over time, the functionality exceeds, and it allows us to innovate and build things that never existed before.
Right.
So we have non-skeuomorphic things coming out, and that is what is really really exciting. And now we use our phones in the ways that we never even thought we would use our phone back in the days. Because
Absolutely.
back in the days, we only thought that, okay, phone we'll only use for, at the most, we thought of video phones in 1950s and 60s. I don't know if you remember, if you look at cartoons, or a
Yep.
future, their
Yep.
vision of future. um but now, what do we do on phones? We can pretty much run our whole business, our whole life on the
I know,
phone.
it's crazy. It's crazy.
So
It's like I
that's
laugh
what
when
I
I
find
see.
exciting. Yes.
I mean, how do you feel about, when I see different phone makers now and manufacturers? I mean, is the differentiator now just the camera? Because I mean, so much of the technology from phone to phone is kind of the same. But the
It is the same.
differentiator now in the
Yes.
advertising is the screen. I mean, remember the old Scion computer
Yes.
from like 30 years ago, 40 years ago? It
No,
was like
I.
it was actually a company here locally to Boston. So I'm based in the
Yes.
Boston area, obviously. Oh no, I'm in Boston. And there was a company called Scion, Psion. And
Yes.
it was literally like, how Samsung now has that opening up
Flip.
that cell phone that almost like,
Yes.
it's not a
Flip
flip phone,
phone.
it's like an oversized flip phone.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That's
Yes.
what Scion used to be like.
Yeah.
It's so funny when you think about kind of the cyclical behavior of technology and kind of the
Yes.
things we kind of threw out. And then suddenly they kind of come back in, they walk around the building, and then like 20 years later, they walk in the back door and say, "Hey, here I am, brand new again." I mean, isn't
Yes.
that crazy when you think about that?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And also, it's just the timing that, if, just like, once again, going to back to Instagram, if Instagram came out 30 years ago, when phones were just plugged into the cable into the home, like landlines, it wouldn't work, or you had to take
Absolutely.
a picture and upload it, and it's too much hassle. So technology makes it easier.
Crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. So, talking about technology, I mean, you wrote a book, and I want to talk about the one book in particular. It's called The 30-Day Startup. And you
Yes.
shared with me, you kind of put it out there, and it just exploded, and people love it. And let's talk about that book a little bit. And let's start with what kind of was for you the impulse that you wanted to write the book? What's the intention you're putting out there with the book? And then let's talk about the content of the book as much as you're able and willing to share here on the podcast, which I certainly do appreciate,
Yeah,
of that
sure.
particular book.
Sure, sure. So the thing is that as I shared with you, like my first startup was in e-commerce, then second startup was in esports, which I was based in
Yep.
Bay Area or like near San Francisco for a short time, and then that got acquired in 2018, and then I came back to New Zealand, and then I was like, okay, you know what? I've had all these experiences. I want to share about how I built, and I met thousands of founders over the last 15 years of my life in different parts of the world,
Yep.
tech startup founders, and I've seen what the successful ones do right, what the unsuccessful
Right.
ones
Right.
don't do, or do things that are wrong, and all sorts of
So
things.
let's
So I
talk
thought,
about
okay,
that for a second. Let's talk. No, no. Let's
yeah,
talk about this for a second. What are some of the things that you see somebody do or not do, where you say, "Oh, they should be do more of that"? Maybe that's not say bad or good, but let's say more, less, or different. What would
yes,
be a young guy who's just coming out of college who says, "I want to do my first"? I mean, they should be thinking startup long before they come out of college. But let's just hypothetically say
yeah,
somewhere
yeah,
who's in the middle of college says, "I want to start my first startup." He or
yeah,
she
doesn't
comes to
matter.
you.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
would you do? What would you say to them?
yeah.
You see them doing
Oh, so much.
something. No, no, but what you see them,
Yeah, but I'll,
what
I'll
are some
start.
of
I'll
the,
start.
yeah,
Yes.
please.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So the first thing is that it doesn't matter the age. 15, 50,
Love it.
65 doesn't matter the age. The key thing is to get started and not just talk about it and not just think about it. And that is the key thing, because you can read all you want, you can study all you want, you can watch YouTube videos all you want, go to university all you want, but that is not the real experience.
That's
The
right.
real experience of running a business, because you've been an entrepreneur and you understand that there will be times when things will get tough, when you will not have the money or the cash flow to pay your employees, and you will have to look them.
What are you talking about? I get it. I mean, exactly,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So you will have to look them in the eye, and you'll have to talk, because this is your friend, not only an employee but a friend
Yeah.
as well, that you have
Yeah.
spent last 10 years, and that you'd have to say in these difficult times or recession or whatever it might be going through, that look, I might not be able to pay you next month, and feel that upset stomach that you will feel. And that feeling a university cannot give you, a book cannot give you. That is a feeling that you have to go and learn, and that will really improve your sales game or your it will really make you think and make you work in a very different
100%.
way, use leverage and all those sort of things that can come later on. But that is an experience that you need to have, and that is why I wrote the book called The 30-Day Startup, because the thing is that I saw so many times people who have ideas, they sit on their ideas, they don't do anything, they don't take any action, they read about stuff, they go to seminars, they go to conferences, but they don't build anything, they just
I
sit on
know.
it. And the idea of the 30-day startup is that you go out and build something, the first
Yep.
prototype, in 30 days, put it out in hands of people. um, and so we wrote the book in 30 days, so it's fine, it's gonna have mistakes, it doesn't matter. I mean, that is the whole point, to show that you can do something actionable in 30 days. And it's pretty much got stories of all these different startups that got started in 30 days, who built like a minimum viable product in the first 30 days and launched, or some even in a week, some even in 3 days. Nothing fancy. Things like DoorDash, the delivery company in US, they started in, like, four college students and nothing. They just put out pamphlets to the houses around and stuff, and put it in the university that, hey, if you want a food delivered to your home, and then their phone would ring, or they would get an email and then, or a text message, that what someone wants to eat, and then they will run out and jump in their old beat up car, go deliver the food,
Listen,
hand
I get
deliver.
it.
And they
Listen, I
ran
get
it
it.
for
That's
months
what it
like
is.
that.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
People don't understand that, right? I mean, sometimes it's about there's a facade, but what
Yes.
happens in the back office, nobody really understands. I mean, I remember we built a job posting engine where we posted to more than 100 job boards. But
Yes.
our technology, even though we said, "Oh, we have this technology," that didn't work. We had like manual labor. It was like submitted through a big portal, and then there it was sitting. Well, do you think there was like some magic engine that was posting it? No, like just like these guys were running to the store to pick up the food and deliver it, and nothing just happened magically. we
Yes,
sat there and we did the same thing, right? I mean, these are the kinds of things which I think is so good to hear from people. What other examples like this? I mean, and I think guys listening, listen to Sam, because here's the thing: the illusion of everything is going to be perfect, perfectionism is your biggest enemy. Just put something
exactly.
out there, take the first step. But let's talk about this. I just saw you nodding. This is a big piece, right? I mean, this
Yes,
perfectionism, we want it to be right. The first version needs to be everything we thought about. What has been in your experience and expertise in building companies? There's version one, version two. There's long term, midterm, short term.
yeah,
To market, speed to market sometimes can be a big part as well. Let's talk about that piece for a
absolutely.
second.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is that it's not only about speed, it is about understanding your customer, but speed allows you to understand your customer so that if you
Yeah,
put something out in front of people, then they get the opportunity to try it out. And from that you get the feedback that hey, they like this part of it, they don't like this part of it, and you get to improve your product. And you have not spent or wasted, I mean, I'm talking more in sense of
yeah,
technological software products, or sort of
yeah,
internet startups. So then you haven't spent 5 years building something that's gone
yeah.
to waste.
I love this, and I want to ask another question for you because you're the perfect guy to ask this question. And I'm sorry, I'm jumping back in.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
I Here's what I'm hearing from you, and I've always been fascinated by that from technology founders. They're really, really good at ideations, and they kind of think about it in their development lab, and they say, "Oh, this is a beautiful product. The market is going to love that," and they push it into the market, and it completely fails. And then
Yes,
there's the technology founders who understand just the right nuance of the T's, right? Just give a little bit, and then see what happens, and then be
yes.
agile in adjusting to that.
Yeah.
Talk about that piece a little bit. It sounds like you've had your part of being either
Oh,
smart about it
absolutely.
or experience also on both ends, maybe a little bit.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
love to
yeah,
hear that.
absolutely. Yeah, it's it's not that you have to get it right at all. The key thing is to get it out there so you can know whether it is right or not. Because it is, if you just go and ask your friends, they are good people. If I ask my mom, she's gonna love anything I do. So, she's going to compliment it. So, and even if people on the street, they are not in the business of upsetting you, a stranger they've just met, and if you just show them a product and say, do you think it's a good idea, of course they're gonna say it's a good idea because they want to get back to their day. Same with their friends. The real thing happens when you ask people to pay money for it.
That's
That, oh,
right.
if it's such a good idea, then okay, pay me $30 or $50 a month for whatever I'm building. And then oh, like, oh, sorry, I got to go there, oh, sorry, I'm getting a call. And then they disappear. So people vote with their wallets. So
Yeah,
that
that's
is
so
that is
important.
and that's why you have to put something out in front of them, and that way you get to gauge that, do they really really want it, or are they, just doing a favor for you for free because it's just few minutes for them. And
I love that.
yeah.
Have you developed somewhat of a process of a methodology where you say, you know what, if you have a product to kind of the product pull and push kind of that the market is pulling for it and asking for it. I mean, Apple, obviously, we all know with the incremental innovation they do from iPhone to iPhone, they do it so
Yes.
brilliantly. Just a little more, not the whole thing. We know already what we're going to do in 5 years, but we're only going to give you this today, and because we know
Yes.
then in 2 years you're going to buy a new one, and you're going to buy another one, and you're going to buy another one. And
Yes.
so, is there kind of a formula and a methodology that you, over the course of your career, and also in consulting, advising,
Yeah.
and working with other founders, you've seen that works better than others?
Yeah, absolutely. There is an answer to this, and that is yes and no, because it depends on the technology, it depends on the startup, and even more so than that, it depends on the founders. There are some
Mm,
founders who are um, rushing in without the resources, and but there's very few of them. Most of them are just holding off because there is also an underlying fear of failure that founders face,
Mm,
entrepreneurs face, that they sometimes don't want to release their product or go out in the market because they have this idea for 5 years that they have cherished. If they put it out in the market, it will get unvalidated. So they
yeah,
would rather
yeah.
just keep be in the building mode forever. And
Do
and
you?
yeah,
I mean, in your observation, I mean, this is such a great point, right? The fear of
yeah,
failure. I always talk about we got to create a culture of failure where culture
yes,
actually says, fail, fail, please do fail, because it will allow you to kind of reflect,
yeah,
rebuild, and build more, better, different, which is more receptive, and the market is more receptive to it. What do you think that is? Is it the fear of failure? Is it the perfectionism? Is it the validation about themselves? Is it the I mean, as guys, you and I both understand that they're not good enough, right? Because we're always
yes,
expected to do bigger, better, faster, for more.
yes.
Where does it come from?
Uh, I don't know. It is also like social capital, because you are
Mm,
risking your social capital, your social
yeah,
standing. You do not want to be seen. And I mean, so much we do is because of our, because we are social animals, because of
yeah,
our, we want to preserve our social capital
yeah,
and stuff. So it comes down to that. We don't want to be seen as a failure, and it takes a certain type of a person to go through that and be okay with it mentally,
yeah,
because
yeah.
it can take a toll mentally for a
Oh,
lot of
100%.
people. Yeah.
If there's somebody listening now who is not that person, but who needs to become more of that person, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I mean, the that is a very very interesting thing. And I want to dial it back to the first
Please.
thing that we were talking about, and that is, how kids explore, or 1 year olds, or they're trying walking and stuff. They don't have this perception of social capital. They fall down, it is okay. But a 25 or 30-year-old man on the walking on the street falls down, he'll immediately be looking around first thing, that who saw me falling down. And they have this feeling of shame and stuff. So it is that it's okay, it's okay, as exactly as you were saying, it's okay to fail. But just like, boats are safer in the harbor, but that's not what boats are meant to do. They are meant to go out and explore
That's
and
right.
trade and all those sort of good things.
That's right.
And that can only come, and you only get better at sailing with experience, not by reading a book. I mean, of course you can read the books before you go out, but there's a
Yeah.
point where you have to go out, you have to do it, you have to experience it yourself.
Yeah. When somebody reads your book, in particular the 30-day startup, what's some of
Yes.
I want to go back to intention. I want to go back to what's kind of the experience for the person reading it. When they pick it up and they read it, what's the takeaway? What's your wish for them, that when they've read your book, that they walk away with?
Fantastic question. So it's divided in two parts. First one is stories of how so many different billion-dollar plus startups, or startups that are worth hundreds of millions, um, built their product, the first product they got out within the first 30 days. So that's the first half of the book. So it is to inspire them and give them different ideas in, say, okay, your budget is only, say, 5,000, your budget is 50,000, your budget is 5 million. How you do it in different budgets in 30 days,
Yeah.
or your budget is $0 in some cases,
Right.
or $50. So how you do it in different size projects, how you get it out in the market really really fast. Sometimes you don't even need a full product, like in Dropbox case. There's such a complex technological solution that they knew it will take them a lot to build. So they made animation of how it would look like and how it would work like, to show and sign people up beforehand, and or sign investors up. So it could be as simple as a prototype like that, which could be done for $100, but it is out there in people's hand, and they have the opportunity to sign up or give feedback and stuff. So that's the first part of it, that get it out. And then the remaining half part of the book is more on the practical side of things, on which is going to get outdated as time goes there. And that is to do with marketing, and that is like using technology for marketing, and or how you acquire users, acquire customers, sales, all that side of things, or how some of these startups did it after they got their product, because that is just the start. That is not the end. It is, as you were saying, it's version 1, version 2, version 3. The 30 days is just to start. It's not the end. You're not finishing. You're not going to wind down and sell your company in 30 days. It's to start and build the next 10, 20 years sort of a big engine for yourself and for your, for
Yeah.
your family. Yeah.
What's that famous quote of the Marigold Hotel, the most exotic Marigold Hotel, where the clerk at the desk says, "It's Desh. What's his name? He plays in
Yes.
Slumdog Millionaire. He
Yeah.
plays
Yeah.
the kid who is redoing the hotel. In the end, everything perfect. Everything in the end, everything will be all right. But if it's not
Yes.
all right yet, we're not at the end yet." And that's right.
Exactly right.
And that's kind of, and I'm not quoting it exactly correct, but that's kind of essentially what when you just said that, I'm going, yeah, that's the line. That's exactly what it is, right?
Yeah.
Keep going, be pervasive, be persistent, and allow yourself the gentleness that, falling on your face is okay, because if you walk a lot, guess what? You're going to trip, you're going to fall, you're going to
Yes.
get back up, and you're going to do it again. And I think that's
And
such
yeah,
an important lesson.
and that's what you call in the tech world a pivot.
Yeah,
So
that's
companies
exactly
pivot
right.
all the time. Apple has had tons of failures along the way, and failed products or products that weren't loved, that they quietly discontinue and or update it the next time
That's
around
exactly right.
when the product comes around. They had a
Yeah.
mouse where the charging port was at the base of the mouse, so while it's charging you couldn't use the mouse. So they slowly over time change that,
Yeah.
and in the
You're
next
talking about this one. See, this is the failure.
yes, that
I still own one of those.
yes. So you have to charge from underneath, so it stays on an
Can't
awkward
use it.
angle when it's
Yep.
charging. You
Yep. You
can't
can't
use it.
use it.
So
Yep.
um so over time, and now you have the much bigger sort of a trackpad that you can get on the side, and that charges from the top, so you can still use it while it's charging.
Yep.
um
Yep.
so it's okay. And Google acquires, like, and all of these companies, big ones, they acquire like a company a week, and about half of them they're gonna close down. It's not gonna work out. But it's okay. They can have 20, 30 failure products, which by themselves would be few $100 million companies. They can close them down. They are okay with failing, and it's okay, as long as it's not completely going to financially ruin you. You can take small bets,
Right.
and that's what happens when you build something fast. You haven't spent 10 years of your time. You allow yourself, you give yourself that permission to fail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that. The other book you wrote is, I think the title is called Business in Time of Corona. And I don't
Yes.
want to talk too much about Corona and business in
No,
Corona, but there's
I
some
think it's a
things.
wrong title that I should have. I realized that it is a mistake of my title, because that book is about pivoting and how to pivot, because that's what we were talking about,
That's
version of
exactly
version.
why I'm bringing it up, because I would
So,
imagine
yes,
pivoting and being able to say, you know what, the mountain I'm climbing here is the wrong mountain. I'm a great
yes,
climber, but I'm going to descend back down before I go all the way to the top, and I'm going to go take this mountain over here. And I know
yes,
I'm going to make that one because I've learned so much on the halfway up on this one. What would you say to somebody who is like sitting in front of a product right now and they're saying, you know what, we got a cool product, but nobody's buying it? And sometimes it's that moment of truth where you got to look in the mirror and say, you know what, we've done the best we can, but we got to go a different direction. What would you tell somebody like that? What's the moment to do that? Is there some indicators, some moments, and I've been there. There's some moments of
yes.
truth where you got to just say to yourself, holy cow, it's time to just nix it.
Yeah, yeah. The Okay, so I wrote that book. Once again, I write a book in 30 days. So I write 2000 words every day when I'm writing a book, when I'm in a book writing mission. So I do that on so I write like really, really fast. And once again, it's the whole principle of getting it out there. And if it works, it's great. If it doesn't work, I don't feel like it was a
Yeah.
because especially making content that is ephemeral, like, it is going to pass with time. So it was about, I saw in the first month or first 2 months of COVID and lockdowns and stuff, how businesses were adapting and pivoting, and those businesses continued to survive, and now they went back to their original business
Yep.
and stuff. So
Yep.
so it's basically mainly about pivoting. So it's like it was a quite a big sort of a bar and a sort of a beer garden type thing in Australia, because I live in this part of the world. So and then people used to come there for tasting different beers that they used to brew in their distillery
I'm
and all
sorry,
that.
time out. Are you really explaining to a German what a beer garden looks like?
I
Come on.
I'm so sorry. You talk about Boston, I completely forget that. No, but even in this US, that's
Yeah,
everywhere. That's everywhere.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And so they had to close everything down, and
Right.
they had the option, fire 25 staff or do something else. So they took the option of doing something else. They converted into making hand sanitizers and stuff, like really high end ones, because the
Yeah.
most of them are like cheap and nasty ones.
Yeah.
And they did so well, they had to hire 45 more staff because and
Love it.
expand the business
That
line.
is awesome. That is awesome.
So
I love that.
and now they can go back as a much bigger. Now they have ended up with two businesses,
There
so
you go.
they and yeah, so it's okay. It's okay to pivot. It's okay to say that, okay, you know what, there were lots who hang on. They thought that, okay, no, we'll just hang on for some more
Yeah.
time. We won't look into
Yeah.
pivoting and things. Yeah.
I love
So
this. I want to ask, just to kind of conclude this part. I want to
sure,
ask
sure.
one question. What I sometimes wonder about, and I self-reflect on that sometimes in my younger career. There's moments where we get very stubborn. We get very taken by what we think is a great idea, and somebody else comes to us and says, "You know what? This part's really good, but this not so much." And there's also the philosophy: if you're really determined about something, don't let go. And
Yes.
now the question comes: when is it time to let go your idea and listen to external versus being the bull and driving it like crazy? I mean, we know both the story. I mean, Facebook is the perfect story, right? The first guy he went to said, I'm not going to give you any money. We know people like Richard Branson, who went to 172, 173 banks and
Yes.
financiers, and God knows, and 173, I believe, was the number. Finally said yes. Otherwise, we would not know anything about Virgin Company today.
Yes.
So, when is it time to listen, and when is it time to let go, and when is it time to, I mean, pivot? We talked about now, but
I
what
have the
talk
answer for
about
you.
this?
I have the answer for you. This is very very easy. So this is a common story. Does not
That's
matter
right.
if it is DoorDash or Robinhood or whoever it is. Like, I mean, the Robinhood as in the app.
Yeah.
They went
Yep.
to 74 investors who refused them in the 75th fund, and now they're worth 7.5 billion, even in recession, like, or kind of whatever you call it, like
Yeah.
we call it inflation and all that times. So after the stock has crashed. So it's no's are bound to happen in business, but you see the theme around here. Their no's were not coming from their customers. Their no's were coming from their financiers and other external things. So when you build a product, you will have suppliers, you will have regulation, you will have investors, you will have so many other aspects of a business which can tell you no, that you cannot do. And these are the people who fight with all those other things and keep pushing besides the no. But they have one thing in common, that Facebook had amazing user engagement. People were loving the product at that time, at that when it was being, I mean, this is the story of
Mhm,
15 years
mhm.
ago or 16 years ago. So that is the common denominator, that are you building a product that is solving a need? As long as it is solving a need, as long as people want it, everything else, the regulation, the building, the project management, the
Ignore it.
material suppliers, all those things
Yeah,
that no's come, fight those no's. But
I love that.
if people don't want your product, that is a clear sign that you need to solve a problem.
I love this. This is such a great, great, great way for us to end. I mean, I could talk to you for hours, my friend. We could go from here to like 16 other areas. I want to talk for a quick moment. One of the quotes, which was my favorite thing, or one of the quotes, but one of the things you shared with me, your kids, your three kids, 8, 6, and 1,
Yes.
think you're their age.
Yes.
How do they communicate that to you?
Ooh, I because they want to play video games with me and not with other adults.
I love it. I
or,
love
or
it.
or or like whatever the game they are in or whatever they are in, they want to play with me, but yeah, not other adults that
I
are
love that.
around
You're
them.
just a super. You're just
Yes.
super dad because you just level with them. I love that. That is so good. Sam,
and
how do
and they
people?
yeah
Sorry,
and also they say, oh, maybe we should go and ask mom if we can do this, as if we both need a permission.
that is so good. That is so good. How do
So they,
people,
yeah.
Sam, to close it out? So we're gonna make everything available on our website with some social media links and everything else, and maybe we'll make the link available also to your books. Um, Tell us and tell our listeners, how do they best connect with you? How should they reach out? How do they get in touch with you?
Cool. So easiest is search my name, Sam Kamani. So it's samkamani.com, or search me on anywhere, LinkedIn or Twitter or anywhere. I'm quite active on LinkedIn. So DM me. My DMs are always open if you want to, any advice, any help with anything you're building in tech, especially in Web3, which is to do with sort of blockchain. And I'm quite active in the GameFi community, in the gaming sort of community. So yep. Feel free to
He's
reach
got
out. I'd be happy to help you. Yeah.
he's got to stay in shape for being able to play with his kids and keep up. That's why he's got to be
Exactly. Exactly right. And also
What's your?
gaming industry is
I
bigger
love it.
than
I love it.
TV
Do you
movies
have a
combined.
gamer name? Do you have a gamer name?
I do, but I'm not sure if it is worth sharing here. It's on Xbox and few other platforms. Yeah, it's Wild Baboon 22.
All right, baboon.
Yeah, yeah, Wild Baboon.
I love it. I
As in
love it. I love it. That's awesome.
22.
I've heard some funny stuff with gamer names. So that's good stuff.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
Sam, thank you very, very, very much again. This has been awesome. And the other part is when this music plays, then we're out of time, just as the song says, out of time. So go connect with Sam. Honored you were here. You are one of those entrepreneurs. The energy I get from you, it's like I want to be 25, 30 years back and say, Sam, you know what? Let's build a company together because you got just that force, that energy. I love it. Go connect with him at Sam Kamani, SamKamani.com. Check out his books. I think they're both on Amazon as well, The 30-Day Startup and Business in Time of Corona. Think of it not as Corona. Think of it, if my business has to pivot, what am I going to have to think about? That's probably you kind of pillowed it that way, which is fantastic. Also, check him out on his Web3 podcast and go listen to, he's on this podcast here. He's been on many, many other podcasts as well. And he's got these little snippets that we all can learn a lot from. Any final words, Sam, for our listeners from you?
Oh no, just go and build that next startup that I'm excited to use your product for.
There's a challenge, guys. He just threw the towel down. He said, go build a big startup that I'm excited to talk about, invite
Yes.
you on the podcast and everything else. I love that. Regards
Lovely.
to your family. Thank you out to New Zealand and for spending time with us. My afternoon for you early, and really, really appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Stay safe. And there's only one thing for us left to do at the end of this podcast, and that is Sam and Stefan, and we're out. Thank you, Sam.
Running out of time, it's rough to make you shine.